Hello, Bonnie.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to an amazing interview this morning, or wherever you are in the world, with the beautiful Bonnie Armstrong. And Bonnie is an Amazon bestseller, and she's also recently won 3 awards for her book. So, to give you a little bit of background into Bonnie, she spent decades as an apparently normal person who knew nothing of the complex dissociative infrastructure that hid much of her childhood and supported her from within. Bonnie enjoyed a 40-year career that included high-level positions in 2 Florida governor's offices. She served as an expert consultant on child and family policy issues with federal, state, county, and local governments, and as an elected commissioner on multiple commissions, a non-profit board member, and a speaker and trainer. She has a master's degree in human development from Pacific Oaks College and is a certified life coach. She's grateful to be blessed with 2 grown children. Bonnie also cherishes a growing group of awesome grandchildren. But why are we here and why are we doing this interview that will help you? So, after a major health crisis in her 50s, Bonnie began discovering her dissociative disorder, her strong internal community of alters, and the secrets of her childhood. She left her career in 2012 to focus on healing, learning about trauma and resilience, and writing and speaking about her journey through mystery, discovery, healing, and the curative interdependence of body, mind, and spirit. Bonnie and about a dozen alters now live together peacefully, focused on their joint life's purpose to break generational cycles of abuse and fear and create a more loving, harmonious world. And they have written a memoir, An Apparently Normal Person from Medical Mystery to Dissociative Superpower. Welcome, 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 beautiful Bonnie. How are you?
Well, Katie, thank you very much for having me. I'm great. Thank you very much. It's exciting to be here with you and to listen to all of that. I mean, the fact is that the dissociative disorder that I didn't know I had is what gave me that fabulous life. So
Wow.
I consider it not to be a disorder at all, but a superpower.
Yeah. And when I heard your story about a month ago, Bonnie, I was brought to tears, not just for what you went through, but for what has come out of it that can help so many people. For our viewers, tell them the story you told me.
Um, well, you've talked about the career that I had as an apparently normal person. I love the title. It's my daughter's idea. Um, and when I turned 50, my body began to fall apart. I started having I mean I had a 6-year long medical crisis that came intermittently but affected my walking, my balance, my brain, my everything about life. And by the end of those 6 years, for any distance, I needed a wheelchair. I did keep working with a little bit of time off here and there. I did keep my active life going, but I, fell apart in the evenings and just, slept a lot. Anyway, 3 different neurologists tried to help. And finally, the last one was a brilliant woman at University Hospital here in Los Angeles. And after 6 days of telemetry, where she had 40 electrodes in my head, following my brain activity, because by that time we were thinking that these attacks were some kind of atypical seizure disorder. And after 6 days, she came in and sat down on the bed and said, "You know what? There is no abnormal brain activity going on in your head. So
Oh,
this isn't a seizure disorder. And in fact, I don't think it has a medical cause. I I want to talk to you about trauma in your childhood. And of course, I said, oh, no, there wasn't any trauma in my childhood. Well, there was that time when I was 12 that I took a bottle of pills trying to kill myself. And she says, right. She said, and I thought she was nuts. If you go back and figure out what was troubling that 12-year-old, you will find the cause of your mysterious illness. And that was true. That's exactly what happened. I the So it's really a mystery. My memoir is really a mystery story. It's how how could that possibly be true? And what did it take for this brain to figure out a way to help this life survive some really awful stuff when we were small? And
That was the amazing thing when we spoke, Bonnie, and you said that your life that in your mind you'd had a great childhood, you'd had a great marriage, you'd had a great career, you had great kids, and then all of a sudden this was a major event for you, wasn't it?
it really was. And it turned upside down everything I thought I knew about myself and my family. Um, and it's taken, I'm, it, that was 20 years ago. So it's taken 20 years to get it all figured out and then to come back to a place of compassion and to come back to a place of understanding, and a place of deep gratitude for the internal community that has been with me always since I was 2. Um, Dissociative disorders are not as rare as people think they are. They're, in fact, the prevalence numbers are about the same, maybe a little more than bipolar disorder or schizophrenia.
Wow.
So, but you never hear about them because they're hidden. That
Yeah.
the whole
So
point is to be hidden.
what is dissociative disorder for those people listening that don't know what it is?
Well, it used to be called multiple personality disorder,
Mm.
but dissociative identity disorder somehow describes it somewhat better. The fact is, what they're it's a group of symptoms that it's a group of words that describe the brilliance of the brain in helping a child survive unspeakable trauma that can't be borne by the child. And so the brain figures out that, well, this is too much to handle. Let's put it over there. And so over time, different identities within the psyche are created in order to handle specific types of trauma, and that's what happened in my life. Now that there are multiple stories. You're just hearing one story of one person's dissociative disorder. I understand that everybody's story is different. We have some similarities, but of course, everybody's story is a little bit different. But mine started at when I was 2, and my grandfather, who was a physician, began teaching me mind control techniques. I I know that his intentions were to understand how the brain works for the purpose of improving the way we use our brains and the way that they can be used to help create wholeness and health. That's not what the outcome was for me as his granddaughter, but I think it was his intention. As I say, I've grown a lot of compassion muscle over this healing process. Um, but anyway, he started, and then he would do medical experiments on me with electrical shocks and different things
Oh, Bonnie.
in order to teach me how to move that away. So he was doing what actually comes naturally. He was teaching me how to do it consciously. So I had the benefit of both my own system knowing how to do that and his teaching, so that I could withstand lots of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's how my after I did try to kill myself when I was 12, my internal community decided that it was not going that killing us ourselves was not a good idea, that we had a life to live, that we were a good person, and that we were going to live the life of a good person. And so therefore they shut down the what they call amnestic barrier. Anyway, they shut off this part of my brain that held all of that stuff and put me out there as the front guy. And let me live this a really wonderful life, full of positivity and many, many blessings.
Mm, mm. And
And
so when when you had that conversation with the neurologist that it wasn't medically based, what did that do to the community? Was there a within you?
good question. Yeah, that was well, it was not immediate.
Mm,
It told my internal community, aha, they're going to listen. We've hit
mm,
her over the head with a 2x4. We've, you know, and we've allowed these physical symptoms to come forward. All of them were based in something that actually happened to this body before I was
mm.
12. And and they said, oh, they're going to listen. So those symptoms stopped. As soon as I was turned over to a psychologist who had a lot of history with dissociation, um, and we began uncovering, they allowed some of the memories to come forward slowly by slowly. And every time in therapy um, that I remembered something awful, the next day I'd be able to walk better. The next day I'd be able to go up the stairs in my home. And there was an immediate feedback loop. I didn't understand it exactly
Wow.
at the time, but there was an immediate feedback loop where the body, as the memories came forward in the mind, the body was able to release them and not hold on to the limitations that they had created.
Wow.
So isn't that awesome? I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I did. This
Yeah.
is one of the.
Yes.
This is what I love about your work. Your work with the brain gardeners. Oh my goodness, global. That is it. Uh, we our brains are so amazing. This 20 years, the uncovering of this story has been the most fascinating thing I've ever done in my life. And I'm now in my 70s. So, and I've had a great life. And this really is the most fascinating thing is how the brain has been able to do that. So we talk about now, we may have one physical brain, but it is populated by several minds
Mm.
who are quite different and who speak differently, who have different experiences in life, who hold the body differently. They see light and color differently. They're very distinct people inside, the
Wow.
minds inside of this one brain. I
And
don't know how that
I
happens.
think people even even people that don't have dissociative disorder can identify with this of having these multiple people inside our brain that are quite often all talking at once.
That's right. The idea that we have that there are different parts of ourselves is
Yeah,
not, yeah, we're just on the far end of that continuum,
yeah.
where they can really take over the body and take over
Um,
our activities. But yes, it is definitely a continuum, and so is dissociation. Have you ever been driving down the road and get lost in thought, and then oh, suddenly you're somewhere you didn't know you were going to get? That's
yeah.
dissociation. That's all that
Um,
is. And so, and again, it's a continuum. And when major trauma hits when you're very young, it is a natural thing for the body to do, to
Mm.
say, I can't handle that. Let's put it over there.
Yeah.
Um,
So did you actually through your work and your healing, I'm intrigued by this.
Me
Could
too.
from identifying the different parts, could you actually feel when a certain personality came in? Did you
Sure.
start to, yeah, okay. And did they last for like how long did they last for, or could you click them in and out?
Well, you're giving me too much credit. I'm not in control of
Okay, okay.
when they choose to come forward and when they don't choose to come forward. And by this time, we're a very, very cooperative group and work together very well. Um, and over my lifetime, we have been a particularly cooperative group. There are folks with this, who have dissociative identities like me, where they're not quite this cooperative. But yeah, for me, it's been nobody's been trying to take over the control of the body except to have fun. I have a 6-year-old Jane who really wants to always have fun, and she will sometimes pop out, um,
Yeah. Yay
at the
for
most
Jane.
unexpected. I mean, she popped out in the emergency room one time, and the doctor was quite shocked
Wow, what did you
to have
do?
this body, yeah, this body. And then there was this 6-year-old trying to play with her. She was doing the neurological exam, where you put your finger on your nose, and Jane thought that looks like
Yeah.
a fun game. So there, I wrote an article about that, as a matter of fact, that was in the Permanente Journal, a medical journal, a peer-reviewed
Mm.
medical journal, about the fact that dissociative disorders are not taught in medical school or even
Wow.
in psychology schools or in LCSW school, in,
Mm.
in, in graduate schools for social workers either, because it has been believed that we are very rare. And the fact is, we're not.
Mm.
And the reason you don't see us is, first of all, the whole point is to hide, is to keep these things hidden. And secondly, if you don't know, if you haven't ever learned anything about us, how would you know if you found us anyway?
Yeah.
Um, and so people, I've heard awful stories of people, um, who have been hospitalized numerous times, for a presenting disorder like an eating disorder, and no one's ever gotten back behind that disorder to see the trauma, to
Yeah.
see the dissociative disorder that's hiding the childhood trauma, that is what's got to be solved. So one
Mm.
of the things that's happening in the field now is that we're beginning to move toward the purpose of therapy is to heal the trauma.
Yeah.
The purpose of therapy isn't to become to get rid of all the people that are inside of you. The purpose is to actually get to know them and
Mm.
to heal from whatever the trauma is that created them. And that's the work that we've been doing. And it's quite wonderful, because then as they heal and learn their stories, then then that coalesces up to you healing and the big person healing and understanding the totality of our lives.
Mm.
And that's quite different than what I thought. It's also quite wonderful.
Mm. And so for you, your healing journey, because some of it was I found it really fascinating when you were talking about it. Tell the listeners what where you went to. Because
Oh,
you said, yeah, you said you had some different healing experiences.
oh, I did, and they were one. And I was very blessed. Again, the part of the abuse in my childhood had to do with a religious cult
Mm.
that my grandfather was part of, and um and it was a very vengeful, angry God that they worshipped. And then there was some satanic stuff with it. Anyway, what happened when as I was trying to heal, I realized that my spirit, my very life force, had been damaged as much as my psyche or my body had been damaged, and I needed spiritual renewal, but I couldn't go to the religions that I had grown up in, because they were too fraught with danger. And and I had always had a great fascination with indigenous cultures. Um, and I did a vision board one time in a class, and to my great surprise, what showed up on the vision board was that within the year, I'm going to be at a spiritual retreat at Machu Picchu.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
I didn't know that that was a goal I had, but from inside, that had come forward as something that we needed to do. And I'm like, okay. Uh, and then anyway, I did. I went to Machu Picchu twice in Peru, studied with a wonderful chacaruna named Jorge Luis Delgado, and this nature-based, love and service-based, indigenous um, cosmology was exactly what I needed. And
Wow.
the connection that we're all connected, that we are one with the universe, that as I heal, I help heal the collective trauma that is there in the world. And that um, listening to nature and being in nature could help heal my brain, could help heal my spirit, and could help heal my body. And it did all three things. Um,
Wow. But Bonnie,
it,
you honestly, you are one of the most phenomenal people I've ever met.
oh my.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you, but I'm not just one person, so
Yeah, yeah. You're all
a lot
amazing.
of help. I've got a lot of help. One of the things my internal community did that I've been thinking a lot about recently is that, and I don't really know how this happened or by whom, but they created a a part, an altar, a part to hold our sense of values.
Mm,
And it was kind of, I don't know, the Viktor Frankl's
yes.
discussion in Man's Search for Meaning. If you know the why you're living, then you can get through most anything.
Mm,
And this internal sense of what a good person would look like on the outside, and the fact that we internally would have the capacity to create that, gave them a why to withstand all of what they withstood, and then gave them the why to keep it all hidden,
mm,
so that they could keep me out front doing that live, being that. And of course, the person that they created out front, this apparently normal person, I got to show you the cover of my book because
yeah.
it's pretty. But well, and it's all mosaic, and that's the point. I mean, I was pretty shattered.
Yeah.
Um, but they were so, and we called her Candance. I'm not sure exactly why, but that we they called her Candance, and she held on to these values no matter what else was going on. Those were protected inside. And then that was who they put forward. And I never treated anybody the way they were treated in all my
Mm,
life. And that was the point. And how gorgeous is that? How,
mm,
how absolutely thrilling is it that that would be the way this brain, this body, this spirit, this soul would respond to being badly, badly abused? Isn't that
mm.
cool?
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. That's why I think you're incredible. So your book, you've had a bit of an amazing journey, as I mentioned at the beginning. So tell us about the unfolding of that and how it's making an impact. Because you also said that you're getting a lot of feedback from people that this book is actually helping.
And it turns out that that it the healing journey is the quest for healing and wholeness has some similarity across whatever the issues are that you're healing from. And so you don't have to have been abused as a child or have to have a dissociative disorder for this healing quest, which took me to Peru, as you've said, to Australia, to and the way it took me there, I didn't have the money to do all that, except that I sold something of my grandfather's and let him and let
Perfect.
him, let him finance my healing journey. But then, and so when, I don't know, at some point we started using narrative writing. Well, from day one, my psychologist said, get a 3-ring binder and start a journal. Just write down whatever's going on, whatever you're thinking, and so forth. So I have 3-inch thick journals for every year since 2002, of what was happening and about this healing process. And so when I went to write out the healing process, the narrative writing became part of the healing in itself,
Yeah.
because it allowed us to put this all together in a way that could make some real sense, and then forced us to try to make sense out of the things we didn't understand yet. So it's been the writing process was immensely therapeutic. But the publishing process is something else again. The book publishing is this whole world out there that I knew nothing about. And it's in flux. I mean, everything is changing. So I had this magical thinking idea that, oh, well, you get an agent and and the publisher, and then they help you edit the book and all is beautiful. And that's what it always looked like to me in the movies. No, that may at some point in history been true, but it's not true now. So anyway, the process of finding a publisher was great. I ended up working with a very small publisher so that I could keep the rights to my story, because when you sign with the big people, you have to sign the rights to your story away, and I wasn't willing to do that. So it's been great. And every one of my alters has helped in the editing process of the book
Yeah.
too. But
What did
where
Jane do?
well, she came out and giggled, you know.
I love Jane.
But they wanted, and this was one of the reasons we went with this publisher, because she was so, the 2 people that we interviewed were, they asked, well, if one of your internal people come out while we're working, how would we handle that? And of all the people we interviewed, all the people we talked to about the possibility of publishing, they were the only ones that asked that question. So we
Wow.
knew that they were the people to work with us. And in fact, each altar, when it came to the point in the book where their voice was there, just seamlessly in the editing process, they came out and they took care of the editing of their part of the book. And so you have authentic voices from, I don't know, 6 or 7 of us, I think, in the book, maybe more.
Wow. And you've had a lot of people, so you've won 3 awards and you're a best-selling author in how many categories were you saying?
3 Amazon categories,
3
yeah.
Amazon categories.
Yeah.
And you've had people reach out to you already saying that it's changed their life or it's helped them.
It's helped them. One young person who was having terrible trouble and beginning to cut and and became suicidal. And um, I she was given this book. I would not have given it to a person that young myself, but
Mhm.
she said this book came into my life at exactly the right time. And the story of overcoming trauma helped me to decide that I could go on. And I, at that point, decided I didn't have to sell another book if the whole purpose of the writing of it had been met. But if that can
Wow.
happen for other people too, that's the point. That's the point. And the other, I mean, I'm old,
Mm.
and healing can happen at any point in your life. You'll know when the time is right to do the healing work you need to do. I never even knew I had healing work to do. But when the time is right, your healing process, it is going to be magical. It's going to be
Mhm.
um, a gift from the universe. And please don't ever think I'm too old to do that work, because um, it it sometimes is, I don't know, in some ways even better when we're older. But here we have from 16 to 77. So that of people who have been um, um, impacted by it. Actually, a lady just wrote to me. She said, I just turned 82, and I only learned 3 years ago that I have dissociative identities inside. And I was really struggling, and she thought that my process was very helpful to her in understanding that, number one, there are lots of us out there. And there
Mm.
are communities. There's this wonderful conference every year in February in Florida called Healing Together, that is all about people with dissociative disorders, the people who love them, and the people who treat or research us. And it has changed many lives, including mine.
Wow.
The first time I was there was in 2017 or 2018. And it was astounding to walk into a room where everybody understood. You didn't have to be careful,
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
because I've become very good at the sort of well, before I wrote the book. Now everybody knows. But I had become really good at sort of titrating carefully how much I told anybody
Yeah.
about, because they'd seen me be really sick, and then they saw me be really well, and, oh, well, Bonnie, what happened? Well, sometimes it was hard. People couldn't grasp that all of that physical disability was actually caused by my body's response to childhood trauma.
Wow. Wow.
I also want to give a shout out to the ACEs study. I know, the Adverse
Yes.
Childhood Experiences study. That was very helpful to me in understanding that that things that happen, adverse experiences, not necessarily as bad as mine, but
Mm.
adverse experiences that happen in our childhood do affect our immune system, do
Mm.
affect the development of our brains. They do affect how we grow up. And we who have a lot of adverse experiences are more likely statistically to have all sorts of things, including heart disease, including cancer, including
Mm.
um, behavioral issues, including suicide attempts. And once you understand that, you can say, oh, okay, well, what do I do about that then if I'm now at higher risk of these things? Huh. Well, I can eat better. So I became a pescatarian, mostly a vegetarian,
Mm.
um, very early in this process. I can learn a new language, or I can play a new instrument or something like that helps rebuild my brain. I can um, I can walk in nature every day, or at least 3 times a week.
Mm.
And of course, I'm a tree hugger, and so I go out and I really talk to trees.
I
And
can
they,
remember when I first I had a friend come over who was a yogi from Australia on holiday, and she I was in my early 20s and she hugged a tree. I thought she was balmy.
Some folks think I am too when they see me
I
in the
quite
park.
like hugging trees now.
Yeah, I'm glad you do. I'm glad you do. Yeah. Oh, I could tell you stories. There's a particular stand of trees at Mount Shasta that calls to me. And I can go there in my mind, when I'm meditating. So I don't have to always be up in Northern California, but um the uh and they really do help the grounding. The idea that trees communicate with each other and help each other and support each other through their root systems in much the same way we as humans need to remember to do as well. And
Mm,
the idea that we are as interconnected as we are can help us to remember to take care of this planet. To take to So I just came. Well, there are numerous organizations that are helping to replant trees all across the globe, and I hope everybody helps to keep the planet green. Mm.
yeah. I think that your book going back to a place where people may be unwell, and whether that's physically, mentally, and they look at the ACEs study and they know that there is a link with their trauma. I think your story is so powerful for people, Bonnie, because it actually shows people that there is hope, and it's like Dr. Amen always says, you're not stuck with the brain that you have. And
Right.
but there are things that you are stuck with, but it's how you bring that all together.
That's
And,
right.
and healing across those circles as well, the physical, the mental and the spiritual and the social, because as we heal, we can actually expand more as people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to pop a link in the comments below when I post, but where can
Okay.
people actually get a copy of your phenomenal story, Bonnie?
The book is available through whatever bookseller you use. It's available on Amazon. It's available in bookstores. It's available from Barnes and Noble, wherever you get your books, and it's available in ebook and paperback now. I am going to do an audiobook very soon, so it'll be out in audiobooks soon. So, and my publisher's name is Emerald Lake Books, and so it's always available through Emerald Lake Books.
Mm.
My website is bonniearmstrong.com, and it's available there too. So
Oh,
there are
that's
lots of,
awesome.
yeah. So, and one of the things I want to just leave you with, one thing we haven't touched on that I want, two things.
Mm.
One is that among the gazillion blessings that came out of my healing process was that I was in Maya country on the solstice in 2012 when the Mayan calendar shifted. And I was given the charge there by them and accepted it that the new era is going to come forward on this planet when we all each take as our responsibility that in every interaction we increase love and harmony in the world and decrease fear and aggression. That in my for the rest of my life, that's my commitment, is to with every interaction increase love and harmony and try to decrease fear and aggression. Um, and I believe deeply that as each of us makes that commitment to ourselves and to our community, that accrues to the healing of the entire planet. Um, and the other thing I want to say is that I am committed to spreading the word about healing,
Mm.
and about and demystifying mental health quote disorders that are really superpowers. And
Oh,
so
I love you. Carry on. I love
I love
you.
you too. Oh, well, I am willing to do these kind of talks. I'm willing to come to your book club. I'm willing to speak at your class. I'm willing in, whatever it takes to help build this conversation out. I'm happy to be there. Contact me, bonniearmstrong.com, and invite me to whatever. I mean, it may be virtual like this, and if we can make it personal, we can do that too.
Mhm.
But I'm loving discussions I'm having with book clubs. So
Mhm.
people who don't have, the connection to brain gardening that you have, but who also do want to learn about um, a healing quest, and demystify the idea that our brains are so amazingly flexible and brilliant that they can protect us from so many things.
Mhm.
So who I'm excited to talk to, Betty, especially you, Katie Jolly. I love listening to your snippets about brain health. It's just quite wonderful the work you're doing. So thank you very much for inviting me to be part of
Oh,
it.
thank you, Bonnie. I think that from what you were saying, and this has been my own journey of mental health, is that people we have more an awareness of it, but people still feel very isolated and alone. They still feel very, very, very alone, and it's common. And like you were saying, with this associative disorder being similar to bipolar statistically, it's actually just being able to get in a room and talk about it,
Yeah,
and for us all, like you say, to go on this healing journey within, so that we can spread some more light around the planet. It needs it. It needs
it
it.
does.
We can't stay stuck and hidden within ourselves, I think. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
all that you're doing because it's incredibly important. I feel very blessed to have met you. Thank you.
Oh, I feel so blessed. This is the best part of the journey, right? Is meeting amazing humans like you.
And like you,
Yeah.
right? I agree. It is. It's opened up doors that would never have been open to me before. So I'm very excited about the acceptance that the book has received, and not the book and the story have received. So thank you, my dear,
Well, all the best, Bonnie, and I no doubt I'll be in touch with you and keep touch. But I want to thank you for your time. So
and thank you very much for having me. Take care of yourself.
thank
Okay.
you for
Cheers.
everyone watching. I will pop the link to Bonnie's website and her contact details in the chat. Okay. Lots of love.